All right, so today we're diving into some pretty deep waters with this idea of the Trinity,
Yeah,
this concept that God is one, but exists as three distinct persons,
right.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
hmm
Now, I know that might sound a little bit like a contradiction at first.
Yeah,
How, how can something be one and three at the same time?
it's a question that has puzzled people for centuries.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think what's fascinating about this is that the Trinity doesn't actually violate any logical rules.
Okay.
It just kind of pushes us to think about God in a way that goes beyond our everyday experience.
So where do we even begin to unpack this? Like, how do
Think
we...
about a family.
Okay,
You have individual members, parents, children, each with their own personality and role,
right.
but they're still one family unit.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So in the Trinity, you have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, each distinct persons,
hmm
but together they form the one God.
Exactly. And this gets to the heart of what the Trinity is all about. Unity and diversity. It's not about three separate gods, but one God existing as three persons.
So it's kind of like saying a team is both a single unit and
Yeah.
composed of individual players.
That's a great analogy.
Both statements are true,
Hmm.
but they're referring to different aspects of the team.
Yeah, and this is where the distinction between God's essence and his persons becomes really important.
Okay, let's break that down.
Yeah.
Essence versus persons.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Think of it this way. God's essence is what he is.
Okay.
It's his divine nature, his being.
Mm-hmm.
It's what makes him God. On the other hand, the persons refer to who he is,
Gotcha.
the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
So the Trinity isn't saying that God is one and three in the same way.
Exactly.
It's saying he is one in essence and three in persons.
Precisely.
Two different aspects of God.
And that helps us understand why the Trinity isn't a logical contradiction.
Okay, because we're not saying that God is one and three in the same sense.
Right.
It's not like saying a shape is both a square and a circle.
Yeah. It's more like saying a clover is both one plant and three leaves. It's one thing with distinct parts.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got this idea of God being one in essence, but three in persons.
Mm-hmm.
What does the Bible have to say about this?
Well, the Bible is full of support for both the oneness of God and the distinct roles of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Let's start with God's oneness.
Okay.
That's a pretty central idea in Christianity, right?
Absolutely. The Bible is very clear that there's only one God.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 6.4 says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord, our God, the Lord is one."
Mm-hmm.
And even demons acknowledge this truth in James 2.1. You believe that God is one, you do well.
So the Bible emphasizes monotheism,
Yes.
the belief in one God.
Yeah.
But how do we reconcile that with the idea of three distinct persons?
That's where it gets interesting.
Oh, okay.
The Bible, while affirming God's oneness, also reveals the existence of three distinct persons who are each identified as God.
Okay.
Take 1 Peter 1.2, for example. It refers to God the Father. Then you have Hebrews 1.8, which calls Jesus the Son God.
And what about the Holy Spirit? Where do we see him being called God?
Acts 5.3-4 is a great example.
Okay.
It talks about a man lying to the Holy Spirit and then says, "You have not lied to man, but to God."
Wow.
Lying to the Holy Spirit is the same as lying to God.
That's powerful. So we see all three,
Yeah.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, being called God in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
But even with these distinctions, it's still hard to wrap our minds around how they can all be one God.
It is a profound mystery. And
Yeah.
that's part of what makes it so compelling. But what's also fascinating is that the Bible emphasizes not only their distinctness, but also their equality and eternal existence.
Okay.
They're not separate gods.
Right.
They are the one God, each person playing a unique role within the Trinity.
So it's not about three gods,
Right.
but one God existing as three distinct persons.
That's right.
And this idea of persons is important here, right?
It is.
They're not just different parts of God, but actual persons.
Yes. Each person of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, has their own will, intellect, and emotions. They interact with each other as distinct persons, yet they are one in essence.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together, even if it's still a bit mind-boggling.
Yeah.
The Bible clearly points to both God's oneness and the existence of these three distinct persons.
It's a beautiful and complex concept
It,
that invites us to go deeper in our understanding of God.
it definitely challenges our usual way of thinking.
It does.
Okay, we've talked about the apparent contradiction,
Mm-hmm.
the difference between God's essence and his persons,
Right.
and the biblical support for both his oneness and his threeness.
Yes.
But I think we need to go back to those analogies
Okay.
to really help us grasp how something can be unified and diverse at the same time.
You're right. Analogies can be very helpful
Yeah.
in understanding the Trinity. Remember the family we talked about?
Yes,
Yeah.
each member's unique with their own personality and role, but together they form one family,
Right.
unified yet diverse.
Exactly. The Trinity is like that. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are each distinct persons with unique roles and characteristics, but they're united in their essence as the one God.
It's a unity that doesn't erase individuality.
Exactly. And this is where another analogy, like a musical chord, can be helpful.
Okay.
A chord is a single harmonious sound, but it's created by combining distinct notes.
So just like the notes in a chord blend together to create a unified sound,
Yeah.
the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit exist in perfect harmony,
Yes.
each contributing to the fullness of God.
Precisely. It's a beautiful picture of unity and diversity.
Yeah.
And this understanding of the Trinity can even help us appreciate diversity in our own lives and communities.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It reminds us that true unity doesn't require absolute sameness. In fact, it's often the differences that make the whole even stronger and more beautiful.
Absolutely. And speaking of distinct roles, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit each have unique roles within the Trinity.
Okay, let's dive into that. We know that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are all God,
Right.
but they each have specific functions, right?
They do.
What are those roles?
Traditionally, the Father is associated with creation,
Okay.
the Son with redemption, and the Holy Spirit with sustaining.
So the Father is the creator, the Son is the redeemer, and the Holy Spirit is the sustainer.
Yeah,
It's like a divine team, each with their own area of expertise.
that's a great way to think about it. And while they have these distinct roles, it's important to remember that they often work together in perfect harmony.
Okay.
It's not a rigid division of labor, but a beautiful interplay of the three persons.
So for example, while the Son is primarily associated with redemption, we know that the Father sent the Son out of love for us,
Right.
which is part of our salvation.
Yes.
And the Holy Spirit, who sustains us, also convicts us of sin and empowers us to live godly lives, which connects to the work of redemption.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. They are distinct persons with unique roles, yet they work together seamlessly as the one God.
It's amazing how complex and intricate the Trinity is.
Yeah.
It really stretches the limits of my human understanding.
I understand that Trinity is a concept that has challenged thinkers for centuries.
For sure.
But even if we can't fully grasp its complexities, we can still appreciate the profound truths it reveals about the nature of God and his relationship with us.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into the Trinity,
Mm.
what are some key things you want our listeners to take away?
Well, first I want to emphasize that the Trinity, while mysterious, is not illogical.
Okay.
It doesn't break the rules of reason. It's about understanding that God's oneness and threeness refer to different aspects of his being, his essence, and his persons.
And we've seen how analogies like a family, a team, and a musical chord can help us grasp this idea of unity with diversity.
Exactly. And while the Trinity might seem complicated,
Right.
it ultimately points to the vastness and wonder of God.
Yeah.
It invites us to embrace a faith that goes beyond what we can fully comprehend.
It's about finding comfort and awe in the mystery of a God who is so much greater than our finite minds can grasp.
Precisely. And that mystery is something we'll continue to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll be looking at how the Trinity has impacted history, culture, and even our understanding of relationships.
Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into the Trinity, this amazing concept of one God existing as three distinct persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
And as we go deeper, I think it's really interesting to see how this idea hasn't just stayed within, theology books or
Right.
the Trinity has actually had a huge impact on art, music, and even literature throughout history.
You're right. I've never thought about it that way before.
Yeah.
How has this concept shaped human creativity?
Well, imagine, breathtaking stained glass windows in cathedrals.
Wow. Yeah.
Depicting the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Or think about powerful musical compositions trying to capture the majesty and mystery of this three-in-one God. Artists, musicians, writers, they've been inspired by the Trinity for centuries.
It's incredible how a concept that, originated in the Bible has kind of echoed through different cultures and forms of expression.
Yeah, it really speaks to the power of ideas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And how faith and reason, intellectual exploration and spiritual wonder can kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely. But I also know that the Trinity has been the subject of some pretty intense debates
Oh, yeah.
and disagreements throughout history.
For sure.
It's not a concept that everyone agrees on.
Very true.
Yeah.
Not everyone accepts the idea of the Trinity.
Right.
And there have been different interpretations even within Christianity.
So how do we approach those different perspectives?
Yeah.
It seems like such a complex and sensitive topic.
I think the key is to engage with respect and a genuine willingness to understand.
Okay.
Remember, the Trinity pushes us to grapple with things that are ultimately beyond our full comprehension.
Right.
So it's okay to have questions and to acknowledge that there are different viewpoints.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about the journey of exploration and seeking a deeper connection with the divine, however that may look for each person.
Yeah.
But maybe shifting gears a bit, how does understanding the Trinity affect our everyday lives, our relationships with each other?
That's a great question. If we consider that God himself exists as a Trinity, this community of persons united in love, it tells us something profound about the importance of relationship.
So we, being created in the image of God, are also wired for relationship?
Yes.
Designed for connection, love, and belonging?
Exactly. And the Trinity can even be a model for how we approach our relationships.
Okay, how so?
Well, it shows us that true unity doesn't require everyone to be exactly the same.
Right.
In fact, diversity can enrich our relationships and communities.
That's such a powerful message, especially in a world that can feel so divided at times.
It is. It reminds us that we can celebrate our differences while still working towards a common good, just like the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are united in their essence and purpose.
You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing that the Trinity also offers a really powerful way to understand our relationship with God.
Okay.
It's not just about relating to some distant, all-powerful being.
Right. It's much more personal than that.
Yeah.
The Trinity invites us into this dynamic relationship with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Each person of the Trinity offers a unique facet of God's love and grace.
It's like having this incredible divine support system.
Yeah.
This team of spiritual guides cheering us on and helping us navigate the complexities of life.
I love that analogy. It really captures the heart of what it means to have a relationship with the Trinity.
Yeah.
It's not about, cold abstract theology, but about experiencing God's love in this personal and transformative way.
It's about moving beyond a superficial understanding of God and embracing the intimacy and love that he offers us through the Trinity.
It is. And that journey of embracing the Trinity can lead to this deep sense of peace, purpose, and joy.
Wow.
It's a journey that takes us deeper into the heart of God and deeper into our own hearts as well.
I'm feeling a sense of awe just thinking about it. Okay, we've covered so much ground already.
We have.
The impact on history and culture, the importance of respecting diverse viewpoints, and the implications for our relationships. Where do we go from here?
Welcome back to our final exploration of the Trinity. It's been an incredible journey unpacking this concept of one God existing as three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We've talked about the logic, the scriptural basis, and even the impact on history and relationships.
Yeah, and as we wrap up our deep dive, I think it's important to acknowledge something that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to the Trinity.
What's that?
The mystery.
Okay.
You know, we can use all sorts of analogies and logical explanations, but at the end of the day, the Trinity is a concept that kind of goes beyond our full human comprehension.
I think you're right. It's tempting to try and figure it all out.
To fit the Trinity into a neat little box in our minds.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the infinite nature of God here.
Exactly. It's like trying to hold the ocean in a teacup.
Yeah.
Our finite minds can only grasp so much of the infinite.
So how do we approach this mystery?
Okay.
Do we just give up trying to understand?
Not at all. I think there's a certain beauty and wonder in acknowledging the mystery of the Trinity. It actually invites us into a deeper posture of humility and faith.
Humility?
How so?
Well, it's humbling to realize that we don't have all the answers, that there are things about God that will always kind of remain beyond our complete understanding.
I can see that. It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We don't have to have it all figured out.
And that surrender can actually lead to a stronger faith.
Really?
When we acknowledge the mystery of God, we're also acknowledging his greatness, his power, his transcendence.
Okay.
We're reminded that we're not dealing with a God who can be, easily defined or contained. That's a really interesting perspective. So it's not about shutting down our minds or our desire to learn, but about recognizing the limits of human understanding.
Exactly.
And embracing the awe and wonder that comes with encountering the divine.
Precisely. And that sense of awe can lead to a deeper trust in God.
Okay.
Even if we don't fully understand everything, we can trust his goodness, his love, and his plan.
It's about taking that leap of faith, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trusting that even in the mystery, God is there and he is good.
Yes. It's about surrendering to the mystery, resting in the knowledge that God is bigger than our limited understanding. He doesn't fit into our neat categories or definitions.
I love that. So it's not just about approaching the Trinity with our intellect,
Right.
but also with our hearts,
Yeah.
with a sense of wonder, humility, and trust.
Absolutely. And when we do that, I think we open ourselves up to a whole new level of spiritual experience.
Okay.
We allow the mystery of God to kind of wash over us and transform us from the inside out.
That's beautifully said. So as we come to the end of this deep dive into the Trinity, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from our conversation?
I want them to remember that the Trinity, though complex and mysterious, is ultimately a testament to love. It's a reminder that God is relational,
Right.
existing in a community of love, and that he invites us to share in that love.
That's a beautiful way to sum it up. The Trinity isn't just an abstract theological puzzle.
Yeah.
It's a love story. It's a story about a God who loves us so much that he sent his Son, and who continues to pour out his love and grace on us through the Holy Spirit.
And it's a story that invites us to experience the depth and richness of God's love in our own lives.
It's been an incredible journey exploring the Trinity with you.
It has.
We've delved into the logic, the biblical basis, the cultural impact, and the relational dynamics of this incredible concept. We've wrestled with the mystery and found that even in the not knowing, there's beauty and truth to be discovered.
It's been a joy sharing this exploration with you. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity and your desire to go deeper in your understanding of the Trinity. May you continue to be filled with wonder and awe as you encounter the vastness and love of our triune God.